Yo, guys, what is up? Welcome back. Today we are reacting to a Rabbit Luigi video. Or what is that? I'm sorry, what was that? Rabid Luigi. Rabbit Luigi. Okay. They did a video, every Call of Duty game ranked worst to best, and that piqued my curiosity. So I thought it'd be fun to react to it. I have been a Call of Duty enjoyer for quite some time, literally since I was like 6 years old. I've been playing Call of Duty. I'm 18 now, so many years of my life playing Call of Duty. So, and considering if it's like how most people feel about Call of Duty these days, I'd have to imagine this video was probably made missing the older days of Call of Duty, because I know I do. But yeah, let's just get into it. I'm curious to see what this person thinks. What the best Call of Duty is.
This video is brought to you by viewers like you. Thanks for letting me do this.
I guess it's hard for me to choose my favorite Call of Duty personally, because I mainly play Call of Duty for zombies, but I would probably say, I guess I'll just say my favorite Call of Duty for each respective mode. Favorite Call of Duty for campaign, Call of Duty World at War. Favorite Call of Duty for MP is Black Ops 1, and favorite Call of Duty for zombies mode is Black Ops 3. But yeah, let's get into their ranking now.
You know, I used to really like Call of Duty. Bit of a back in my day, I know, which makes me sound a lot older than I am. But as other yearly franchises have found out, so many games in such a short space of time isn't such a good idea. At its peak, Call of Duty games have been wonderfully addictive experiences that combine a raft of engaging multiplayer modes with often thrilling single-player campaigns. But I guess
I know, like, the campaigns used to be so good. Like, people shit on me for liking the campaigns, but like World at War campaign, Black Ops 1 campaign, Black Ops 2, even Call of Duty 4 campaign as well. Like, there were some really good ones.
The question I'm answering today is just how many games can be described as peak Call of Duty? And
Peak
is that
Call of
even
Duty,
a thing, or am I hanging on to wisdom?
I would say peak Call of Duty is what was Modern Warfare 2 to Black Ops 2. That was peak Call of Duty.
Memories of a handful of games I played more than a decade ago that remind me of simpler times? No idea, but I'd love to find out. Hopefully, you might want to find out too.
Alright, this could be interesting.
With 30 games to rank, we aren't going to hang around too long with each
30 games? 30? What's the fucking 30th? Why are there 30?
The worst Call of Duty, and kind of comfortably too, has to be Black Ops Declassified for the PS Vita,
it's including, wow, it's really including all of them.
From front to back. Its single player can be blitzed
Okay, I'm just going to say I will not have much opinion on the core Call of Duties, you know, the main Call of Duties. I mean, I played Call of Duty Mobile a little bit. I played MW3 on the DS, but, and I mean, I guess I played like the I was actually one of the lucky people that had World at War on my iPhone back in the day. So I played that. I've also played the Black Ops 1 on iPhone as well, but that's it, really.
And the multiplayer is riddled with glitches and terrible touch controls. The maps are so small that you almost respawn on top of each other. Even for how rough Call of Duty has been recently, you can do so much better than this shit. Hey, do you want to play a Call of Duty game that really doesn't want to have multiplayer? Like, it's so afraid of having you shoot your friends that it's just got a short campaign instead? Well, that's where World at War Final Fronts comes.
Final Fronts? Well, okay, I actually know this one. I actually beat this game multiple times when I was a kid. This game is pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. I tried replaying it recently. It is not fun.
This is a Call of Duty game with zero multiplayer of any kind, and instead just a brief single-player story filled with busted AI that turns the whole thing into a bit of a farce.
I liked the guns in it. I thought some of the guns were fun to use.
Activision were working on spin-off games as early as 2007, but Call of Duty Road to Victory frankly wasn't worth their time. It does have multiplayer, so you can get your friends involved, but it's got the vibe of a handheld COD game for the PSP that prioritizes graphics over literally everything.
Yeah, this doesn't look too good.
Driver, it's full of glitches and useless AI, and you wonder if the devs couldn't have spent, like, a little more time on the stuff that matters. Only a little. I want some kind of special award for Call of Duty Heroes for being one of the few games in this franchise to do something completely different. It's a real-time strategy game, which is a little derivative for a mobile game that came out in 2014, but honestly, I feel like it deserves a lot of credit for being a different kind of Call of Duty game.
I forgot this game even existed.
With microtransactions, and as you may expect, you haven't been able to
Does
play
anybody
it for
even
5
play this?
years, so I can only be so kind.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, are you even able to play
mobile
it?
Game to the next, Strike Team is a game that suffers hard from an identity crisis. It seems
Call of
to be
Duty
attempting to
Strike
bridge
Team.
the gap to main console games, and does so with its presentation, but also attempts to combine a top-down tactical shooter perspective with awkwardly forced first-person shooter segments, and they do not mesh well whatsoever. It's trying to have it both ways and ends up not really doing anything particularly well. But hey, at least you can still play it! Why is Strike Team still playable, but Heroes isn't? Hands up who expected to see the most recent Call of Duty game at number 25. Well, if your opinion of modern-day Call of Duty is as burnt out as...
This isn't the most recent Call of Duty game. Although, I guess it would be kind of weird to include the newest Call of Duty in a list like this so soon. So actually, this is fair. And Vanguard is pretty bad.
Perhaps isn't such a big surprise.
Wait, okay. If, like, the DS and Call of Duties are included, and this is, like, below those, that is just so funny.
They've been running this series through the mud for years, and even though Vanguard feels like such a big downgrade when compared with basically every main
I will say, the thing about Vanguard I do like is just the look of it. It looks really good, but other than that...
It wasn't bad enough for Activision to care. It didn't sell well, but I think Activision are blaming it on the World War II setting instead of, you know, being shit. And having an even worse zombies mode somehow. How do you even do that? Hey guys, real quick, my channel has been approved for YouTube memberships now, so if you fancy supporting my channel more directly, you can become a member for as little as £1 a month and gain access to some nifty perks, as well as being featured on my channel page. Hit the join button below this video if that sounds cool to you. Thank you, and let's get back to the video.
I don't have money.
It's very easy to sum up Call of Duty finest hour, apart from confirming that it is in fact not the finest hour for Call of Duty. It's a slight spin-off of the very first COD game that doesn't play too much differently, but has a fresh new storyline with 6 different campaigns that all interlink in some way. It's a hard game to rank, since it's based on a fundamentally better video game, but the story is all sorts of fuddled and doesn't really help itself. It's strangely unsure whether it wants to be a realistic shooter or a bit more stylized, and it's not a great mix of styles. You're better off just playing the original instead. For me, the first sign that Call of Duty was falling by the wayside was when Ghosts came out in 2013.
Literally, it's crazy that Call of Duty was doing so good, and then Call of Duty Ghosts came out, and ever since, Call of Duty has just been fucked. Like, ever since Call of Duty Ghosts came out. Like, Call of Duty Ghosts is literally what killed Call of Duty and what made it go in this downward spiral that it is now.
I've alluded to this moment a few times so far, but this is where major cracks start to show, with Ghosts acting as the first sign that Activision churning these games out annually might just be a horrendous idea. I don't want to be too harsh, since I like some of the new ideas added to the multiplayer, but the single player has absolutely nothing to say for itself and can be walked through for what difference it makes.
Yeah, the Call of Duty Ghosts campaign is pretty boring.
Copy and paste Call of Duty. Boy, I hope this doesn't become the norm. Back in my youth, I distinctly remember getting the bus to school and a friend of mine whipping out what must have been an iPod Touch to play Call of Duty Zombies. This blew my mind for several reasons, but with the benefit of hindsight, putting out a standalone mobile game just so people can play zombies on the go was a genius move. It's bare bones as all hell, and the sequel is so similar that I'm lumping them in as the same entry, but I do love mobile games from the 2000s that focus less on microtransactions and just...
Dang. I just think it's so funny that these ranked above Vanguard. Fuck you, Vanguard. Vanguard is trash.
Fans of nostalgia might want to remember back to the 2nd of May 2016 when the reveal trailer for Infinite Warfare became the most disliked YouTube video that has basically anything to do with gaming. Does this make it the worst Call of Duty game? No, far from it in fact, but it does hint towards
some decent things
attitude around this series taking a nosedive in the mid-2010s. The irony with Infinite Warfare is that despite the drastic changes and the introduction of interplanetary combat, it's one of the most fiercely mediocre games I'll talk about today. I think back to my time playing and it's just a messy blur of bullets that occasionally sharpens because of the really good zombies mode. all of this drama for a
Yeah,
brand
pretty much
video game.
the zombies
Given how
mode
messy
is pretty
things
much
are
the
becoming
highlight
behind
of
the
it.
scenes, it's a miracle that Black Ops Cold War came out in any kind of playable state. There are a ton of arguments about the direction that this game should go. And
I like Cold War.
Resolved,
I like zombies on Cold War. It was pretty good.
Strangely big on player options. Like, you can customize your playable character and make big story decisions, and there's multiple different endings, and you can tell that there's been a lot of effort put into certain parts of Cold War, but not everywhere. My eyes glaze over looking at the multiplayer, because I feel nothing. Activision sure does love a side
Yeah, I didn't like the Cold War
game.
multiplayer at all.
Finest Hour was okay, but not quite as good as Call of Duty 1, and sure enough, Big Red 1 is also decent.
I don't know how these could rank above
the main deal here is
new
that Big
Call
Red
of
1 was
Duties,
released on
though.
consoles at a time when the main
I just
series-
don't... These crappy PS2 Call of Duties, I just don't know how these could rank above any of the newer Call of Duties. Like, let's be real here, the PS2 Call of Duties suck. Like, they're trash. And this is from someone who has played them and still owns them. But they're not good, so I don't really agree with them being ranked this high at all.
was chilling out on the PC, and that does mean that the controls are
Like,
built
above
more with
Cold
control
War?
sticks in mind, but we've
No
also
way.
got the quirky side story, which is more quirky than good. Especially nowadays. Why are you playing this over the actual Call of Duty 2? You'll have a better time, I promise. In case you're unsure of how badly Activision has fucked around with Call of Duty over the last 5 to 10 years, Call of Duty World War II used Normandy Beach as a social hub to drop loot boxes onto. Yeah, there's a lot wrong with that, and Activision chasing that sweet coin was always likely, given how brazenly everyone else was doing it at the same time, but it completely overshadows an okay Call of Duty game. It returned to a
Yeah,
World War II setting
that's
for
kind of
the
what I
first
would
time.
say. I've always thought World War II was an okay game. Like, the zombies mode was probably the weakest part, but I actually liked the Call of Duty World War II campaign and the multiplayer for a while. Anyways, the multiplayer now I pretty much just play shipment if I decide to play it.
In 9 years, but it's all over the place tonally, and when coupled with the loot boxes, you get the sense that the setting is being used as a gimmick and not with the kind of respect it deserves. This franchise was built on this shit, for crying out loud. Let me take a moment to tell you about the grand old time I had with the Nintendo DS version of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I wasn't too sure about including ports, but I've talked about a few so far, so I might as well talk about how shockingly well Call of Duty fits with the DS's touchscreen. Mobilize is a smaller scale COD game that tells its own story.
Wow.
I feel more comfortable ranking it, but it controls
It is
really
so
well
weird.
and works nicely with
I
sleek
thought
story and
the
pretty
DS
awesome online
ones, man.
multiplayer.
I just can't believe
It's
they're
like
ranking
Call of
this
Duty,
high.
but smaller and portable. Oh, don't worry, I definitely didn't forget about Modern Warfare 2 from last year, and definitely didn't get confused when looking over a list of Call of Duty games and thought that this was a remake of that one awesome game from 2009. It's almost like naming an original game the exact same name as an older game for marketing purposes is fucking stupid. How's the game though? Yeah, pretty good. The campaign's excellent, but the multiplayer is full of terrible decisions. The gun customization is too much, and some of the maps give me a headache. Border crossing should be built
Wow,
up
yeah,
on
that
war
gun
crimes.
customization
What the
looks
fuck
fucking
is this
miserable.
shit? Given the, at the time, ridiculous success of Fortnite and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, a Call of Duty Battle Royale was always on the cards. The trouble is mixing it in with the usual Call of Duty essence, since it would have been easy to copy over a lot of features from the competition, but Warzone is able to
Warzone is actually pretty good.
The Gulag
I like Warzone. I like Warzone 2 and the original Warzone. I enjoyed both. Both
is
were
a
good.
nifty idea that gives unfortunate players a second chance, and if Warzone had a smaller file size, I'd play it a lot more often. Lucky it's free to play, because I'm gonna need to buy more storage after a 175GB install. Why are modern games so big? Hey, this shouldn't take too long. Warzone 2.0, the sequel to Warzone,
Yeah,
that
Warzone
acts as more of a
2.0 is
reinterpretation,
better.
is basically the same as the first go-around.
Warzone
with
2 is
minor
definitely better,
tweaks here and
100%.
there. There's new maps and new weapons, and now you can swim without instantly drowning, so yeah, I suppose it's a little bit better. In 2019, Activision grew some pretty massive balls and decided to name their new Call of Duty game Modern Warfare. Spoilers for later in this video, but it's not as good as the game it takes its name from, but it is a lot better than some of the more recent offerings.
I think Modern Warfare 2019, when the multiplayer was pretty
Player
solid,
choice
actually.
here is
I had a lot of fun playing
impressive, and I
hardcore.
do like how you can have a more tactical approach to missions instead of going in all guns blazing. Not sure how I feel about White Phosphorus being a kill streak in the multiplayer. Definitely feels like we've moved past this sort of thing. If Infinite Warfare was too many steps towards Halo, then thank Christ that Advanced Warfare exists. This one automatically loses a few places for me since Kevin Spacey is in here, but he does burn to death at the end, so that's nice. Advanced Warfare is the one with the
Advanced
exosuits,
Warfare
which helps
above
give your character
MW
superpowers in the
2019,
story
I do
and
not
gave
know
the
about that one.
multiplayer a lot more mobility and dynamism. Honestly, a really fun, if unrefined, Call of Duty game, which also has a dope stealth mission in its campaign. I love seeing developers screw around with mechanics like this. How's this for a turn-up? The best COD game for mobile is actually the most recent one? Every fibre in my body doesn't
Call of Duty Mobile.
because Activision are kind of a dumpster fire at the best of times, and you better believe that Call of Duty Mobile has microtransactions in it that you can spend a lot of money on. But to my shock, this game is actually really good. It's like a diet Call of Duty experience where you somehow don't miss out on all that much, and the devs behind this, who also made Pokemon Unite, deserve a lot of credit. Yes,
I mean, yeah, Call of Duty Mobile, it actually wasn't terrible, the little bit that I played it.
And that's the best way to do them. We've got as far as number 11 without any mention of Black Ops, which is pretty goddamn impressive. Well, other than the shitty PS Vita game, and I suppose Cold War counts as well. But the Black Ops quadrilogy is some pretty tasty Call of Duty.
Quadrilogy.
Black Ops 3 is probably the weakest Blops, and even then we left the genuinely medium.
Black Ops 3 is the weakest Black Ops. That is a stretch and a half. I mean, yeah, okay, the campaign is terrible, okay, but the multiplayer was pretty decent at a time, and the zombies mode is fucking phenomenal, so I do not know how it could be this low.
Mediocre games behind some time ago. It plays just as well as previous Black Ops games, and I got a lot of enjoyment out of the multiplayer, but if you bought Black Ops 3 for the PS3 or Xbox 360, you were stuck with a version that had no campaign and was lacking a lot of features. We're at the point where we're splitting hairs now, that's just how it is. If you don't know your extensive Call of Duty history, then you might not know how solid the first 3 COD games are. They're like a different language compared to where the series went after, but Call of Duty 3 is still a blast
I
to
didn't even
play.
think about that. Are these the first 3 Call of Duties? Are the first 3 Call of Duties going to be in the top 10?
I'll
That is
confess, I
absurd.
originally played this on the Wii, which is widely accepted to be the inferior version, but the fact that its quality still shone through shows the caliber of game we're dealing with now. This
Yeah,
is the
I
third
played Call of
game in
Duty
this
3 on the
trilogy.
Wii.
You can sense that Treyarch were running out of ideas a tad, but that's only really an issue if you decide to play all 3 of these back to back. Still kicks the shit out of Medal of Honor. All the way back in 2003, the original Call of Duty was getting some work done, and it says a lot about the 20 years that followed that this game still has a place among the best 10 games in the franchise. Obviously, it's very simplistic when compared to what Call of Duty has become over the years, but this game is fascinating to play in 2023 since you get an isolated look at the values that Call of Duty used to have. Even so, it's surprising how much is here already. The multiplayer is really fun, the story is a little light but still has some great levels. You've even got the shell shock slowdown thing that's been here for decades. A lot of franchises start off shaky, but Call of Duty has had that source since the start. Do you want some more blops? Oh brother, we got loads, and the worst thing about Black Ops 4 is probably the stupid logo that completely forgets how Roman numerals work. Nah, for real, the biggest downside is the lack of a single-player campaign, which was troubling at the time since I was worried that this would be the norm going forward. But now we know that it's not, it's actually kind of nice to have a uniquely multiplayer Call of Duty game out there. You got the traditional multiplayer, an awesome zombies mode, and Blackout was a really enjoyable
zombies
attempt
mode.
at Battle Royale. So it's not like they removed stuff for no...
Don't think Black Ops 4 has an awesome zombies mode. Guys, pretty sure you can agree with that.
reason. I really appreciate that World at War exists. There's a lot to unpack.
World at
but given
War,
that Call
getting
of
some
Duty found a
love.
lot of
World at
success
War
and
is great.
pivoting
I love
away
World
from
at War.
World War II, coming back and keeping all that momentum was very valuable for ensuring that we're not just playing through the same handfuls of scenarios every time. Also, World at War may have had an awesome campaign, but you and I know why this game is remembered, and zombies is probably the best thing that Call of Duty has created. You get to shoot zombies and Nazis at the same time. You're doing the Lord's work, I swear. Okay, it's time for more blops, and Black Ops 2 is very memorable for having the largest entertainment launch of all time until GTA 5 took that honour roughly a year later. It was such an event that you wonder how the game itself could possibly meet these expectations, and it is pretty awesome for the most part.
Black Ops 2,
agree with everything new
number
that's added to Blops
6.
2, but I have to give the devs credit for
I do not. Black Ops 2 should be like number 2. Seriously.
doing anything new when this game was always likely to sell well regardless. It's full of non-linear gameplay and loves that player choice, so you can count me
The campaign is
Call of Duty 2
awesome.
was released 18 years ago, and apart from some shaky graphics which were still really good for the time, you wouldn't know it. This is a game
Call
that gave
of
this
Duty
franchise
2.
the confidence to become such a juggernaut. If COD 1 established the formula, COD 2 took it to new heights with bigger set
Call of Duty
plays
2
and
is
revamped
alright.
sound design and no health bar, so you get that increasingly red screen as you take damage. And all of this helps place you right in the middle of this war. It's immersive and gritty and also incredibly fun to the point of pushing the boundaries of its hardware. It's not just about shooting Nazis anymore, now you're living every moment of this war. Does anyone else remember
Call
a
of
time
Duty 2
when
is
Modern
alright,
Warfare 3 was
but
seen as a big
this high-
disappointment? That's me definitely showing my age, because the first two Modern Warfares are so good that the third game was always likely to be the relatively awkward end to the trilogy. It's kind of like Call of Duty 3 in a
I
way,
think
but to
Modern
a
Warfare
much
3
higher
is good.
standard,
I like
where the
Modern
devs
Warfare
are
3.
scraping the bottom
I like
of the
Modern
barrel
Warfare
for
3
ideas, but
more
the
than Modern
barrel
Warfare
was full
2.
of gold and is still pulling out some incredible moments for Modern Warfare 3. The campaign is super satisfying, and the multiplayer soaked up so much of my time that it's probably why I did so bad at school. I'm not going to think too hard about it and say it was worth it. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the original Blops is indeed the best Blops around, and for so many, this is just straight up.
I would agree. Because I would say like the overall best Call of Duty, in my opinion, is Black Ops 1. Just because solid zombies mode, great multiplayer, and phenomenal campaign. I mean, come on, it's the best.
Up the best Call of Duty game ever made. Not me, but it is one of the more consistently amazing games in the franchise, where you can feel the devs flexing their creative muscles in a
So
successful
number 2
effort
and
to
1
create
are
something
Modern
unique
Warfare
and
1
deeply memorable.
and
There's
Modern
a huge
Warfare
amount
2.
of variety on display that keeps you company throughout an engrossing story mode, and the multiplayer
Modern
is so
Warfare 2
addictive
was
that you never
understandable.
get anything
The
done,
first one,
and the
I don't know
zombies
about
has
that.
JFK say this line.
Gentlemen, lock and load.
So it's an instant classic.
Yes.
At this time, Call of Duty was one of the best FPS franchises around, and Black Ops came out swinging. We're 30 games
Yes.
down now, and I'm running out of ways of introducing video games, but do you remember when... Oh yeah, how could we forget? Modern Warfare 2 is often remembered more for its controversies than its qualities, which is a damn shame because it has way more of the latter than the former. If anything, the controversies helped to garner more attention and brought in the public en masse to help enjoy just a 10 out of 10 experience from start to finish. The campaign's a bit short and can suffer a tad from being the awkward middle child of the canon, but the individual missions are just so fantastic that I don't really care. The online is as good, if not better, than anything that came before, and not
Modern
just
Warfare
from
2
this
MP is great.
franchise. It's a titan of the genre and the industry. And yet, in my eyes, still not the best, because the first Modern Warfare, and indeed what is now the original Modern Warfare these days, is the pinnacle of modern FPSs. I'll start with the multiplayer because this is what broke new ground, and it was loved by so many and for so long.
I don't
that
know
this
if I
is
agree with
basically
this
the
one being
reason
number
why the
1,
franchise
but
is
I
as
can
popular
understand
as it
why.
is. Credit to Activision for following up on the success and keeping the train going, because people poured so much of their time into this multiplayer that it's still going strong to this day. The campaign is one of my favourite story modes of any video game and hits shockingly hard for a franchise that gained a reputation for glorifying combat and violence. It's uncompromising and yet hugely varied with its locations and setups. Frankly, I envy anyone watching this video who hasn't played Modern Warfare yet. It'll do everything for you. And after that, we're done! Do you agree, or would you have another Call of Duty game on top? Let me know.
This was definitely a very interesting ranking of the Call of Duties. Definitely one I don't think I fully agree with, but not a bad list at all. Obviously, make sure you go check out their channel. Their YouTube channel link will be in the description. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.